Hey, Dave. David?
All owls are fairly ferocious, and the great grey owl certainly can be. So as part of the standard equipment of looking for owls' nests, you need this.
If you have any comments on BBC television programmes, please write to Points of View, BBC Television, London, W12 8QT.
For the 4077's Colonel Potter, there's a suspected loss of confidence in MASH on BBC Two shortly. Here on 1 in 25 minutes, a potential loss of life brings Remington Steele onto the case of a man who suspects he's about to be murdered. Our courageous firm require hearts of steel at 9:25. But now on BBC One, the 9 o'clock news from John Humphreys.
Under pressure over Cheltenham calls for Sir Geoffrey's resignation. Neil Kinnock's charge tonight, it's a government madhouse. Mrs. Thatcher says in Hungary there's an urgent need for arms talks. Prince Philip in Ulster, the Irish government protests. And Challenger in the clear, a perfect launch from Cape Canaveral. Good evening. More than a week after the announcement of a union ban at the Spice Centre, the row refuses to go away. And it's the Foreign Secretary, Sir Geoffrey Howe, who's under the greatest pressure tonight. In the Commons, he was accused of an unforgivable level of incompetence because of confusion over what happens to trade union members who refuse to leave their unions and won't take another job. Treasury Minister Barney Hayhoe had said yesterday they'd get no redundancy payments. Sir Geoffrey said on Thames Television last night they would. Today he claimed he'd been asked a misleading question, and he said Thames Television had apologised. They said, we haven't been asked for an apology and we haven't given one. Alan Williams, Labour's shadow civil service minister, said Sir Geoffrey had given a brazen, unrepentant response, and Neil Kinnock accused him of despotism. Tonight, the shadow foreign secretary, Denis Healey, joined in the attack.
I think to have a bumbling incompetent in charge of our nation's security and foreign policy is a very dangerous thing. I hope he'll reflect on the shabby and ludicrous performance which he's put on over the last week and consider whether...
Some senior Conservatives aren't underestimating the damage done to the government by what they see as the mishandling of the GCHQ issue, and certainly the events of the past 24 hours won't have reassured them. In the Commons today, Sir Geoffrey Howe, with Mr. Barney Hayhoe by his side, received a rough, sometimes contemptuous reception from the opposition benches. And Mr. Alan Williams, from Labour's front bench, described the Foreign Secretary's performance as brazen and incompetent.
He's revealed a level of incompetence that would be unforgivable in the greenest and newest of parliamentary secretaries, and that's particularly unforgivable in a man of his legal distinction when one considers the consequences on the lives of thousands of civil servants who've committed no offence other than to have the misfortune to be employed in the department of which the right honourable gentleman is the head.
Sir Geoffrey tried again to remove any doubts about what will happen to GCHQ staff who refuse the government's terms.
If, in fact, having had a suitable alternative job offered to them, away from their original place of employment, if that's what they choose, they refuse to take that job, then, as was made perfectly clear in the notice issued to the staff on the 25th of January, if they refuse to accept an alternative posting, then they will have their employment terminated